As taught to separate actively. To mention your class, this life we all learn like academy. I'm trying to shine in the darkness. I had to find where my heart is. What is going on, Kingdom? So today I am back with another message today. Now I'm hoping I got the camera angle right. I've been trying to make the videos look a little bit just look a little bit better quality in some ways, shapes or forms, but I mean that's not really the topic of the video, but I just wanted to say I hope it looks good, right? But today I want to talk about something that I find incredibly important for us overall as people, you know what I'm saying, to talk about. And one of the things, you know, I love talking about underlying topics in a way, right? I love talking about topics that can be a little uncomfortable to talk about, can be a little bit like, hey, you know, that's a little bit weird, you know, we don't all want to talk about this or be transparent about this issue, right? And one of the things that I do believe, right, I love talking about these things because the devil works best where we don't try and address him. The devil works best where we don't try and address where the devil is. You know what I'm saying? So I believe today it's important to go and speak about this issue, and I'm just kind of gonna go out, talk about it, my beliefs on it, some of the things. It's almost like documentation in a way as I continue to learn more and more about the topic of lust, right? You know what I'm saying? And learning about ways of defeating it, learning about ways of fighting it, not allowing for it to take over our bodies, our spirits, our minds, things of that nature, right? You know what I'm saying? Now, as I've said that before, I'm not even afraid to say it. You know, nowadays, I'm struggling with my own forms of this, right? I'm not going to get to, but listen, I'm flawed. I'm dealing with my own forms of this. I'm not really going to get into what, because I just feel like that's a little, it's not that I'm afraid to, but I just don't. I've talked about it before if you're really curious, right? But in past videos or in a past video, right? So I'm dealing with my own forms of this. And what I know is that I'm trying to figure out and decipher ways that I can manage to defeat this, that I can manage to say, you know what, this isn't gonna take me over anymore, and to feel more motivated, feel more understanding of what are the ways to make this work, what are the ways. You know, I even made a video back then. It's one of my more big videos actually, in a way, at least on TikTok it was, of me talking about struggling with lust and the ways that I managed to work it through, and the ways, because there was a time where I wasn't facing this problem like I am now, right? But then I started facing this problem again after around like 8 months, and I'm like, man, what is happening, right? What is going on? How am I, you know, and a lot of people would tell me it's just natural, right? But I do believe also that just ways there's like, okay, example, masturbation is not natural. That's not normal, right? That example is not natural. It's just not. We weren't naturally created with these dang phones to make this stuff work. We weren't naturally supposed to, like, some of this, right? Some of these topics, of course, like I said, there's some weird, it can be some weird topics, but it's important to speak about, right? So, you know, what I'm trying to, I guess, understand more of is, where is it coming from, right? What can I do to actually stop it, and stop it for good? Because there are plenty of people that I believe, right, that end up getting into a position where it makes it easier for them to be able to quit this addiction, any addiction. But once they get back into the place where that addiction is open, where that addiction is available, where it is back, and not just available, but when that addiction, you know, when somebody's like, wherever their hurt's coming from, where that addiction starts being more grasped onto, starts being more attractive looking to somebody that's hurting, right? Somebody that's going through a rough period of time, rough moments in their life, they're going to naturally grasp back into something that was never actually healed away from in the first place. I believe for me, right, I got put into a position where, you know, again, like I said, I'm not going to talk too deep about like how everything happened because I don't really, but you know, I got put into a mind state and position basically where I wasn't focused on that feeling of lust, right? I was actually drawn away from it for good, it was a good reason. It was a good thing, right? You know, for a long time coming, you know, in life, things started to, like, you know, started to stress out about things that were just going on, whatever it could have been, tasks, chores, all kinds of stuff. Like I said, not going to get too deep into it, but I definitely was facing a lot of that. And at the same time, I was facing confidence issues within society. Like, these are wounds that I've had. These are hurts that I've had, right? These are things that I've faced within myself. Wounds, hurts, frustrations, anger, stuff that I've had boiled up, right? Fears, you know, trauma, stuff that I've gone throughout my life. You know, these are things that I haven't fully been able to heal from, and I got put, in a position where these wounds ended up opening more, right? Because the wounds can stay there, but depending on the situations you're going through in life, your wounds may end up opening even more, right? Like one thing that I had gone through was, self-confidence issues, right? Self-confidence issues. And one of the things that ends up opening up that wound more is when I end up going back to my lustful desires. I end up feeling shameful, guilty, and it makes me lose confidence. It makes me feel like, even speaking on the camera, it makes me lose confidence in my abilities, in the things I can do. It makes me try and become a perfectionist. It makes me try and say, listen, I feel unconfident about this, uncomfortable about this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to perfect it and prove to myself, hey, I am confident, even if I don't feel confident. It's a wound that I'm trying to fill in, and it's like a loop. I have the wound opens, I go back to my lustful desires, and I end up, the wound, I don't know, the wound opens even more. A different wound opens almost. It's like the wound of stress opens, right? And then I go to, the lustful desires, right? And then I end up, because of that, I open up another wound where it ends up taking me back to my self-confidence issues. That leads to stress. The stress wound opens more. It's a loop. But basically, the basic thing that I want to get through in this message today is that it comes from wounds. It comes from hurts, troubles, traumas, anxiety, depression, hurt, whatever it could be, whatever wounds that are going on, it's what's leading you to try and feel like, hey, I'm starved of happiness, I'm starved of joy, I'm starved of what the Lord is meant to bring us, right? I'm starved of this. And so because I'm starved of this, I'm going to try to fill in what I'm starved in through dopamine rushes and through this excitement, through this thing. And then in the end, because yes, this is a demonic act, you end up feeling shameful and guilty regardless. Nobody can tell me that they haven't done that, whatever the heck. Nobody can tell me they haven't fallen into a problem, a lust, whether it's, if they had sex with somebody, or whether it's they did masturbate, whatever it is, right? Nobody can tell me that if they were impure about what they did sexually, that they ended up feeling good about it in the end, right? Or that they didn't end up feeling a form of like, dang, man, what am I doing? Like somewhere in there, it produces that. I don't care. Somewhere in it produces that. Somewhere in there, it produces that very issue. Whether you hide it or whether you don't, somewhere in it produces that issue. And, because of that, I believe that it ends up creating more wounds. And the best thing that we can do now in these moments is we try to fight these problems by willpower. Yes, it's important to start making strategies to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do to stop myself, get a blocker app, or I'm not going to go and talk to this person, or like whatever it is. But at the end of the day, people end up going years without doing whatever it is, where they end up going back to these desires and they end up going right back to them. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they end up going right back to them. And so I want to say it's because the wounds weren't healed. The hurts weren't healed and the wounds were not healed. So the best thing that we can do for ourselves is sometimes not try to just fight the fleshly desire. We're called to run away from it, right? And sometimes I think what's most important is for us to understand we have wounds. The wounds, like I said, I've gone through. I go through some social anxiety that ends up opening up more when I end up doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. Right? So the wounds end up opening up a little bit more when that happens. I deal with the wounds of stress, which to try, one of the things that I also do, I lack self-confidence. And so I start to stress myself out because when I don't stress out by work and I'm just sitting here, having fun, or if I'm just sitting here just playing a game, I end up feeling a lack of confidence because I'm like, you're not working. So you're lazy. You're like a lazy kid, like do your work. And so I end up feeling a lack of self-confidence there. So self-confidence is a big issue within me deep down to the core, right? And anxiety of doing things wrong, anxiety of not being perfect, right? When I'm not perfect, but not living up to expectations. So that's another thing. So there's like wounds like these where I feel a lack of self-confidence. I feel a lack of self-completion. I don't feel complete within myself, right? And that's not what God calls us for. God doesn't call us to feel these ways, even feel just to feel like down. Was I gonna say agony? I don't know. God doesn't call for us to feel hurt. God doesn't call for us to feel these ways, right? He'll put us through tough situations, but he's not trying. He does not want to see us. He doesn't want to see his children hurt. He doesn't. So what I'm working on doing in these points in time now is telling myself, hey, this all comes from wounds. This all comes from wounds that I got to start working with, addressing within myself, right? Even getting on this camera wasn't so easy for me, right? But I still did it. And that's just a form and a way of me addressing this problem. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to get into that today, and just saying that it all comes from wounds. Whatever your wounds could be. Something could have happened traumatically. Something could have hurt you. How my time looking? How's my time looking? I can't even tell. But listen, all right, there could have been something like that happened in your life, or there could be social anxiety there where you're doing the lustful desire to try and run away from that. Try and run away from where you have social anxiety. Try and run away from, because sometimes it's different. It's like food, right? When we feel hungry, we eat food. But the thing about this problem is when we feel hungry of happiness and hungry of all, then we try and chase something like that, and it's different because we're not supposed to be hungry of happiness and hungry of joy, right? So when we end up trying to replace that with something else, it's wrong because we were supposed to already have the happiness in the first place. So, whatever your wound could be, I'm just here to make this video today to be transparent and just speak on that. And I think it's very important. This probably won't be the last time that I talk about this topic at all. I'll probably talk about this topic many other times, so we'll see. But anyways, that's all I really got to say for this video today. I thank you for watching. I appreciate you. You have an amazing morning, evening, night, whatever. Take care. You have an amazing one. Thank you, and God bless you.